Hi, everyone. Today I have the lovely Rachel on the podcast. Rachel is an astrologer, psychic, and writer with such an interesting story that I'm so excited to dive into today.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me on here. I mean, we only met once online, didn't we? And you immediately were like, hey, do you want to come and have a chat? So thank you.
You're so welcome. Every time I have someone on the podcast, there's an interesting story as to how I met them because I feel like I meet people in such weird and interesting ways. And I love that we met on, it was called the Inspired Souls Business Group, and it was such a gorgeous business networking event like no other that I've ever been to before, full of spiritual people who have spiritual businesses. And it was one of the most supportive groups I've ever been part of. And I felt like I just really enjoyed everyone that was on the call. And I was like, yes, I definitely want to stay connected to these people. And I feel like we're drawn to these things for a reason. And it's like, how can we follow the niggle?
Mm, absolutely. Yeah, 100% agree. And it's not easy, is it, to always find spiritual communities where actually people are shining their true, proper, weird gift, feeling comfortable going for it in their mission, and being super loving and compassionate. So I really, really agree with you. I was like drawn like a moth to a flame to that one.
Yes, love it. We're always meeting aligned people when we're going to the things that we are drawn to, and it is so special. So let's dive straight into who you are, and I would love to hear your story wherever you want to start.
Okay, yeah, there's so much of it. And to be honest with you, like I have been writing a book about my personal awakening journey since 2017, and it's still not quite finished. I have a publishing contract, but just to highlight the fact that actually I do believe that all human beings are so complex and multi-layered that, I am just an example of, all these years later, I'm still going. And there's another layer to this, and another spiral to it, and another quantum complexity, and another lens to put on it. So the book writing journey about my own story has been revelatory in itself because we are always just living these spirals, aren't we?
Yeah. Do you know what? I love that quote. It's something like, the more we learn about ourselves, the more we know there's more to learn, or something like that. You think that you're going to like get to know yourself even more, and you just realize that there's like so much more that there is to dive into.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, I mean, I catch myself being a little bit pissy about sort of some messages in online spaces about healing, because sometimes it's like we heal so that we can become more perfect. Well, no, it's just not like that. There's always another layer, there's always more depth. And I do tend to find that we go back to scenarios that have already happened in our life. And it's like we meet ourselves on a whole other, deeper level. And then that gives us permission to open up, to be able to tell more truth, to be able to magnetize more people in who are our correct vibration. And then it's like, right, okay, what more can I let in now? And I tend to find it's that way. So for me, sorry to go back to your original question of who are you, Rachel? What are you doing? I was a child light worker, but of course didn't know this. I just knew I had a lot of stuff going on that other people never talked about. And that was okay pre-5, pre-school and pre-church. That was fine. Rachel's just got a range of stuff. And when it's a little kid, you can kind of just go, oh, they're playing. Whereas, like, some of my memories, I'm like, yeah, I was reenacting various past lives. That was my play, right? But then, going to school and church was like, and I know now when I look back, I've got that like freeze, like, what's going on? I'm in a place that doesn't feel good. Did I get something wrong here? What's happening? And I felt like that quite a lot. So as a child, I've eventually, through lots and lots of years of healing, come to realize that I'd actually made a psychological split. So there's like this Rachel over here who can see and hear and perceive and know a whole range of things, but is frightened of her own mind because she's like, why is nobody else talking about it? And why do mum and dad go, no, 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 you're not allowed to say that. Don't do that. And then over here, there's like the other Rachel that's learning how to be, which is conditioning, right? It's just
Mhm.
let's look at other people and be really, really hyper vigilant, and then figure out how are you supposed to be in this world in order to get love and praise. And okay, so you're meant to achieve at school, right? I'll put a lot of hard work in then so that I can achieve, because then people will love me. And I come back to this other Rachel that's like, I can see dead people. And the rest. It's like, it's like what I couldn't understand is there's Mother Mary, who's like, pretty important, being the mother of Jesus. There's everybody's dead grandmas. There's my dead grandma. There's like, what's going on here? There was no like context at all.
Yeah, and that must be so challenging. Like when you're with people who don't get it. Like if you were growing up around loads of other people who had had those kind of experience, you have like the mentors and the support system, that could be amazing. It would be amazing. But when you
Totally
feel
different.
like isolated and like not normal, at the end of the day, all we want is to be able to like fit in and feel like we belong. So that's
Yeah.
when we are like, oh, what can I do? Oh yes, must be like academic or fit in this way because that will make me successful, make me receive love and all of these like normal things. And I loved what you shared earlier. Well, I didn't love it, but in the way of oh, people want to be perfect. And it's like, we don't want to be perfect. Like perfect is overrated, but it is like, how can I be authentic and like celebrate and love the version of me? And when we talk about layers, it's like, how can I let go of all of these layers that aren't me and the conditioning, yeah, and the beliefs that I've put on myself or other people to come back to this is me at my core, and like how can I love myself as this person? And when I am that person, that's when I am going to be magnetic to the right people, the right opportunities. Life's going to flow for me. But I also totally get that it's not always as easy as that.
Yeah. And we have those moments, don't we, where we go, oh, yeah, this is me, and like bursting out of ourselves. And it's like a cross between that inner child who's super excited and the innocent heart, and then the fearless, fierce woman who's done a heck of a lot of healing and reclamation and gone, right, okay, resist, resist. No, that's not right. I'm not going in that direction. So once we really reclaim all these different parts and possibly different lifetimes and working with different vibrations there, then we get to go, oh, actually, this whole being is super powerful.
Yes, love it. I feel like it's like connecting to our inner power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is a slightly different vibration of each one of us, which I think is probably ultimately the thing that truly led me to astrology, because it's, having a framework that is in fact the whole cosmos was the only thing that helped me make sense of all of life, of different human beings and of different behaviors, of different frequencies coming through us, and of timing, divine timing.
Yeah. I'd love to hear, how did you get from being this child who has these psychic gifts and trying to make sense of the world to now being an astrologer, psychic?
So there's so many different times of all of this, because I think we kind of know that something's for us and we take it along, but perhaps are not openly expressed about it, but somewhere it belongs in our heart. And that was the same for me with astrology. So I didn't know it because I was always trying to say to my dad when I was little, there were things that came through like, when I'm 6, I'll be halfway around the clock. Like, and I'm trying to get my dad to understand halfway around the clock really matters, and it's like opposite. But he's looking at me like, this, yeah, why are you so excited about halfway around the clock? What's this about? And then when I started playing piano when I was 8, I was like, oh wow, yeah, frequency. I can just tune into music, and oh, and it's like I'm hearing things that are relevant. And then I started drawing these circles, dividing them into 12. And I'm puzzling over it. I meant to put something in it, but I can't remember what, because nobody's saying you look like you're destined to be an astrologer. It's planets. So I just drew music in these circles. So I honestly believe that it was always meant to be. Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
get these like signs and these cues. And it's something I do with my clients as well, who are like, I don't know what I should be doing. I'm feeling lost. And I help people explore what their purpose is in this lifetime. And I'm like, let's have a look at your timeline so far. What are the key things that have happened? What have you been drawn to? What are the topics you've really enjoyed? What are the books that you want to read? What are you drawing? Because all of these things are clues to your life.
yes, and we get to heal our own life and do that deep self-inquiry through paying attention to those clues because it comes through just the mundane life, doesn't it? You know,
Yeah,
and
it's
rather
like
than
a
dismissing
puzzle.
it.
How can
Yeah.
I like get all these pieces that like don't really make any sense, but when you put them all together, I'm like, oh, it does. And that was me when I looked at my timeline. I was like, oh, like I'm obsessed with Harry Potter for a reason, you know, like I'm into magic. And like I went to an all-girls school and I was like, and I went to a Catholic school as well growing up. And I'm like, all of these little pieces, like I was always meant to go down this spiritual path. I was always supposed to help women, but you only see when you look like backwards.
Yes, I love that. I've just been to a Catholic church, even though I'm not a Catholic, I've just been to a Catholic church to pray before this session, so that's maybe why.
Mm, love it.
Yeah. Wow. And then so actually in the real world, when I was 16, I began reading astrology, just like picking up books and going, I love this. It's helping me feel joyful and the world makes sense. So I would do things like, just get a magazine and read horoscopes out to my friends. But behind the scenes, I was like, right, this is helping me understand life. But I still sort of kept it to myself. And even though we had quite a heavy church upbringing and parents were churchy, they were also really cool about me having astrology books, which I'm very, very grateful for. Um, yeah, and then 2020, I had a really profound dream where I suddenly began channeling planets and I was visiting planets and seeing the orbits. And then when I fact checked it, I was like, oh, I'm literally picking up like dates and orbits, and now I see I have to be an astrologer. So that's what happened.
Love it. The signs get bigger and bigger, and dreams are so fascinating as well. I think we can learn so much from our dreams. But yeah, that just gave me full body goosebumps as you were talking about that.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And when we look back at these different cosmic cycles and the numerological patterns of the years, like I'm a life path 22, and of course, as soon as we had the switch over into the year 2020, it was like it was my personal 1 year. So I was in the vibration of the 22. I'm like, yeah, I feel amazing. I know everybody else felt terrible, pandemic. I was like, yeah, born for these times. So it depends where we are on our personal cycle in the context of what the collective's doing as well.
It's so interesting. So last year I was a year nine personal number and I ended like a long-term relationship, like after 7 years, like lots of things were ending, like moved to a different place. And I had to let go of a lot of stuff. This year I'm in a year number one and I'm like so feel this fresh energy of like new beginnings. I've actually just entered a new relationship this last few months and I'm just like it is crazy how much they do align. And I think it's so fascinating to learn about the cycles, isn't it? And just have that kind of like insight, oh, this is supposed to be happening to me, you know, like actually endings can be really good and the endings happen before the new beginnings.
Exactly. And do you know exactly the same? Because in 2019, that was the end of a year nine for me.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing happened. But, somebody left my life, a partner who I really was in love with left. And it was like, it was so weird. It was like he'd read the next chapter of my life and gone, I'm not in that. And he exited off stage. I'm like, by then. And it was such a shock. But actually, now having lived the next chapter, it's like, oh God, it was such different energy. Of course, that was meant to happen. So you just get that little bit better at being able to say the goodbyes and realize the reasons and the timing.
Yeah, I truly believe that the universe is always trying to support us to get back into alignment with our true path and purpose. We get all these different signs, synchronicities, we get physical symptoms, we tend to like lose jobs or lose relationships, and these things happen. But often, like our biggest challenges as well are the biggest portals for growth. And I think when we can see it and have that belief, like everything's working out for me, this is happening for me, even though obviously it doesn't mean it's always going to be easy, like there is challenges and that's part of being human. I find it so much easier to be like, okay, this growth pains is gonna support me to get somewhere better. And I think stuff like astrology can be amazing tools to help get to know ourselves and get to know our path.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many ways that we can use it. There's absolutely understanding ourselves deep, much more deeply, because you can keep going more deep, more deep, more deep, and revising. Where am I with this now? What is my Jupiter doing now? What's my Venus doing now? How am I playing the tune of the vibration of that? It's like the symphony of your life. But then there's also the steadying of just paying attention to these cosmic cycles, because I find that clients will come to me when they've experienced a wonderful period of success and then they go, everything's gone to shit. What's actually happening? And nearly every time there's a number of different transits hitting their chart all at the same time, to the point where they're going, when I look at it, it's like, okay, you've got a really heavy Saturn transit that's making you ground, learn your lessons, be patient, put the brakes on. At the same time as there's this other whizzy Uranus transit, and that's why you're going, I've got so many things all at once. It's like, yeah, you have. And astrology can help you just untangle that a little bit so you're not spinning.
Yeah, and how can
Mm.
you work with your cycles and with what's going on rather than trying to like push and force against it? Because we've been brought up in this masculine dominated society that's like, you must be productive. If you're not working between 9 and 5 and you're not getting all of these tasks done, then you're failing. And it's like, we need to completely get rid of that and be like, oh, do you know what? The energy is a bit crazy at the moment. And maybe the best thing for me is for me to just rest or have a bath or something else.
Yeah, 100%. And like the last 10 months of my life, actually, I got my Facebook account was hacked 10 months ago and totally suspended, can't get back on. And with at first I panicked, and then after about half an hour I went, this is meant to happen. It was just like an internal knowing, like I meant to be axed off that platform. And ever since, it was like I changed what I did. I changed quite a lot of my activities where I used to help people with, readings or ceremonies or whatever at new moon, at full moon. And I was like, no, I have to use all that wisdom on me now for profound healing to go inwards. And I've had such a behind the scenes goodbye, everyone. I'm just going to focus on like clearing out what still is hanging around on a deep, profound level. But of course, I was able to use my own astrology to go, yeah, that's what needs to happen at this time. And I do think we have to sometimes step back and then we can step forward with more presence, more foundation, more stability.
Definitely. I think most people know about astrology to some degree, but obviously it can be quite complex. Like there's obviously
Yes.
the signs that like the planets, the houses, and everything's always moving. I personally got an astrology reading done for myself for this year, and it's like my Bible. I go into it and I'm looking at what the new moons mean for me, the full moons, like all of the planets shifting and whatnot. But what would be the key things that you would recommend to people to look into?
Yeah, so it depends where somebody is on their journey and how they vibe with it. So as a starting base, it's like really just get to know your own chart. Forget what everybody else is saying. Get to know yourself. So your birth chart doesn't change. So it's like you can literally learn. And in fact, I've got a short course that just goes, this is how you do it.
We
What
can
are
put a
your
link to that in the
Yeah.
caption.
It's like, what are your planets? What signs are they in? What houses are they in? Put that together and spend a year grasping how am I playing out my Mars? So, for example, I've got Mars in the ninth house in Leo. How do I play that? How am I playing the tune of that every day? And you get to work with those cycles. So I think that's the starting base rather than listening to generic interpretations,
Yeah,
because we might be here to do something profoundly disruptive, in which case, generic interpretations, you're not following the mainstream, you're here to do something different. Okay. However, what I also find is that what I've started to call advanced light workers, so people who have high levels of awareness and acceptance of their multidimensional self, multiple modalities, multiple gifts, really get it all on a big, wide open level, they can hear and accept astrological channeled planetary information for themselves and around the collective movements very readily. So I've I've eventually realized that's who I work with. Because for ages I'm like, hey, astrology is for everyone. I work with everyone. Of course, that's like, not everyone's
Everyone
going
in
to
business
resonate
has that like period of
that
time where we're
moment.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, no, actually, what I find is that a lot of people begin channeling planetary information because they've got the stellar gateway open. And it might not be that it comes through astrology straight away, but when they hear it, they go, yes, that's what I'm connected to. Something big out there is also inside of me. And in which case, then I find that when we do this work in groups together and we hear how the frequency of each individual works, it's really profoundly enlightening because we see that vibration in others.
So interesting. And as I was having a look at your profile before, you were talking about all of the ways you can help people with astrology, but one that caught my eye is cosmic abundance codes. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so that's something that I offer on a 6, 8, 12 week basis, whatever somebody's feeling. And we just focus on all of the things that bring in abundance. So Venus, Jupiter, all of the asteroid goddesses, anything, part of fortune, anything that's connected with what is your fortune doing? And let's really dive deep on it because I find that people are really intimate with their wounds, but actually, in terms of really getting to wield and know their value and how they're supposed to hold that law of their life and really truly be as an individual, that's my one-to-one kind of medium container.
Mm.
So yeah, that tends to be something that people come and do when they're at that pivot point where they're like, right, it's now. The time is now. Let's go. I want to know how to really be fully myself in this world and turn it up.
Yes, turn it up, turn it up. I was gonna say before we started this call, I didn't know what we were going to dive into exactly, but I thought that the title was going to be called No More Hiding. No More Hiding. It's like, how can I embrace my true self and like really allow ourselves to shine? Because like at the end of the day, that's what we're all here to do. And it's like letting go of the things that are stopping us do that so that we can connect with our path, our purpose, live the life that we're supposed to live, which is the one we want to live anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got all these tools at our disposal, haven't we? And it's wonderful to be able to find people who can help us with extra bits and pieces, just to give that extra lens and go, did you know that this is a gift you're bringing to the world? And we go, oh, really? Me?
I know. Well, a lot of that is like with the tools, it's reassurance of the stuff that we already know. When I look into human design and other pieces, I'm like, oh, that feels like really reassuring. Like, oh yeah, that is how I love to respond, and I feel that within myself, and it's like confirmation, which feels nice.
So you're a generator.
Manifesting generator.
Oh, a manifesting generator. Wow.
What are
So you've
you?
got all the ideas. I'm a projector.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I tend to kind of disappear, read all my books, disappear for a bit, go lie in the park for a bit, and then come back and go, right.
And I think it's
Here's
when
the
we're
lens.
trying, yeah, when we're trying to have the energy type of someone else or do what we think is successful, that's when we're out of alignment and things don't work for us. So it's like, how can I work with this? And I'm not an expert in any way on like astrology or human design, but I think there are always things I share as extras with my clients to be like, these are really interesting things to explore and get to know yourself even more. And these are the things that I've felt have really supported me, as well as stuff like numerology and like we've already spoken about personal year numbers. It's just fascinating. And I
Yeah,
love to
I
have
think
a holistic approach. Like for me, it's like, how can we get to know you on all these different levels? Yes, there's the inner work. Yeah, there's the shadow work. And then, yeah, like there's the fun stuff. Let's dream big. Like let's connect with your desires, and then let's do these fun quizzes and see what you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of these pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, they all add up to that person. And really, ultimately, I do believe that we're working towards a world where we won't even need to use any of these old paradigm marketing methods where we're trying to kind of, oh, I don't know, there's a lot of speaking to wounds and speaking to pain points. And actually, if we just stand there in our sovereign being saying, this is who I am and this is what I do, and here's how the astrology and human design and gene keys support it. The more that people understand, the more that we will go, oh, I get it. You add up. You make sense because we're not hiding.
No, no, it's so true. It's my hope as well that everyone gets to know themselves on like such a deep level. And just the reminder that you can learn one small thing about yourself and that can have a huge impact. You're like, oh, that was the piece of the puzzle that I was completely missing. And yeah, that could be obviously it's different things for different people. And yeah, these things then you carry with you for like the rest of your lifetime.
Yes, 100%. And it's often that one or two things that stick out, and a person like a year later is going, that was my guiding light. I kept going with that thing. So,
Love
yeah.
it. Is there any final things you'd love to share while you're on here? Is there anything you want to shout from the rooftops?
I think the final thing that I would love to just say is that I feel like I'm at a really beautiful point in my own life now, and I'm about to unveil my new year-long container called Quantum Expansion, and that is for 15 women, and it's advanced light workers who really, really vibe and resonate with astrology. And it doesn't matter what that level of knowledge is. You just know that that is the missing piece, the lens, and that is the group that I'm going to be devoted to for this next year.
Love that. I'll put Rachel's details in the caption below as well so anyone can, yeah, connect with her and ask any questions as well. And then I also have a program, Explore Your Purpose, coming out. It's a program I've run live in the past, but it's going to be an online self-paced program looking into, your strengths, your values, looking at your timeline, following what you love, your intuition, as well as a little bit of astrology, human design, and numerology all to support people to get to know themselves on a deeper level. And yes, it's about finding your purpose, but it's so much more than that. It's about living your purpose, like being your most authentic self, because that's when you're going to be on your journey. That's when you're going to be following the path that is meant for you. And when I've had people join it, like the most unexpected things happen. Yeah, people get the jobs that they want to get or they end up working part-time, but it's been like, oh, I've magnetized my dream man to me, I'm having the best sex of my life, and I'm like, this is what happens when we're standing in our power and being our authentic self. So watch this space for the releasing of that too.
Oh,
um
exciting.
yes, but Rachel, I've absolutely loved having you on the podcast here today, and yeah, excited for what's to come.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I love your energy, love your vibe, and thanks again.
You're so welcome. Have a good day, everyone. Mwah!